Meeting of the Livingston Board of Education. Can we all please rise for the Pledge of Allegiance? I
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Have the roll call, please.
Absolutely. Mrs. Charles. Present. Mr. Cohen.
Here.
Mrs. Gong.
Present.
Mrs. Kemka. Here. Mrs. Yelisevich.
Present.
And Ms. Bialik. Oh, she will not be here.
Floor is yours, sir.
Okay. We are going to move into the budget piece. So this is a preliminary budget. Next Monday, we'll ask the board to approve a preliminary budget so that it can be submitted next Tuesday. Next Tuesday, to approve the preliminary budget to be submitted to the county superintendent of schools. And then it goes through a review process there. And then in May, we'll approve the final budget. So, there could be changes between March 18th and May. Generally, not a ton. Okay, can we go to the next slide? So, I know there's always anxiety when a budget is put together, but I'm happy to report, as you can see on the slide, that we're maintaining all programs and staffing currently in place for next year. We cover all our contractual agreements with the associations. We continue to support our technology upgrades and our curriculum initiatives. And there's a decrease in our tax levy due to less interest being paid. Well, this was not without our challenges. Every budget is a challenge, especially when you have 2% tax levy cap in there. So, we're fortunate that there are waivers, and we'll discuss that as we go along. But one is a bank cap and one is an insurance waiver. As I said, these will be discussed later on in the presentation. Some of the challenges that we faced are that our utility costs most likely go up 20 to 30%. As recently as this morning, I read an article about the utilities are in a situation now where they have to improve the infrastructure. And of course, those who use the utilities pay for those increases. We have medical insurance increases, our contractual increases, as I said, transportation costs are going up, and tuition costs are going up 10%. So slide 3, if we can go back to the other one. Slide 3 indicates some of the things that we did to make the budget and balance the budget. We're expanding the integrated preschool program. Usually there's a lottery to get into it, and for a reasonable tuition cost, but we're opening it up to everyone and adding 2 sections. We're going to introduce a student activity fee at the middle school and the high school levels. This is something new for Livingston, but not new to high schools. This is being done. This is, as I said, a nominal fee, and it's a 1 fee per year. So if you are in 3 athletic sports and 2 activities, it's still at the high school, it's still just $200. So you're not paying for each activity or sport that you're in. And this will allow us to provide that amount of revenue, but also will allow us to bring the middle school sports back to heritage. Again, a nominal increase for subscription busing, as we found out. This has not been increased since 2015, 2016. And just from surveying, some of the districts around us, theirs are 1.5 times ours and some twice as much as ours. And our ability to use a bank cap and a healthcare adjustment waiver. So those things have really made it possible for us to balance the budget and not decrease any staffing or programs within the district. Slide 4, Lisa couldn't be here today, but in this department, we're able to maintain all levels of support in the continuum of special ed services. As I said, we're going to add 2 sections of the pre-K, and that will be covered by the tuition costs from those students, those regular ed students in there. Maintain all levels of services in counseling, interventionists, SACs, links, and our equity work. Our case managers have an average of about 45 students. We have nurses in all our schools, but believe it or not, that's not a New Jersey requirement. And we have school counselors at the secondary level that have a caseload of 200, on average, 210 students, which is well below the national recommendation from the School Counselor Association, which is 250 to 270. And now I'm going to hand it off to Mark.
Thank you, Dr. Fishbein. So we're really excited both in curriculum and instruction and in technology. We're in a place where we're going to continue to implement and execute the plan that we've been creating over the past 2 and 3 years since we've gone through the strategic planning process. Our initiatives that are well underway this year will continue into next year. Star Renaissance is our universal screener. We are implementing that this year in grades 2 through 5, and next year that will spread to K and 1, who are doing word study this year, as well as grade 6. Our Open SciEd, which is fully implemented across the middle school, we've been part of the pilot program with the state to bring Open SciEd to grades 2 and 3 this year, which has been very exciting and successful. That will continue next year as the pilot expands into K and 1, for the following year. Word study, as I had mentioned earlier, moves into grade 2 next year, and Math in Focus has moved K through 6 over the past 6 years with Angelina, and next year we're going to introduce it at the 7th grade level as well. We will maintain our 5-year curriculum writing cycle. That really ensures that none of our documents go too long without being touched, without having some reflection and some revision as necessary. That really focuses on the 2023 ELA standards, which, to be very honest with you, we are already implementing, even though they're not mandated until the September of 25, but we've already started doing that this year. Our curriculum is based on our standards, our interdisciplinary connections, 21st century skills, state mandates. All of our curriculum documents focus on essential questions and enduring understandings. What is it that we want students to be able to know and do, beyond life in that one particular course? And then we continue to work for common resources, common benchmarks across all schools and grade levels. Also, we went over back in December, new course offerings and revised course offerings at the high school. That includes introducing AP Computer Science with the focus on engineering, Asian American Pacific Islander Studies, which is out of the English department, as opposed to the Social Studies department, which many of our previous study courses have worked through. Chinese 2 honors and Italian 2 honors honestly is a correction. It's something that we are running in all of our other languages. And it's time to have the honors at the second level in Chinese and Italian as well. Sports and entertainment marketing becomes the business of sports and entertainment because it's a more accurate title for what the course actually does. It's not just focusing on marketing. And then introduction to data science really is about data science principles. All of our first level courses are introductory by nature. This is really about the data science principles. Finally, for curriculum and instruction, we continue to flourish with professional development. We actually just had a meeting with our professional development committee this afternoon. So we're continuing to grow and work on these things. We introduced at the end of last year and throughout this year our Livingston Lens instructional framework and are revolving all of our professional development experiences around that. That includes, our Livingston Induction of Valued Employees, which is our 3-day new teacher orientation. Our Livingston U, we're continuing with building thinking classrooms, Open SciEd, Universal Screener and Word Study, as I said earlier. We continue to work with professional affiliations. People are attending conferences. We are bringing in speakers, and we make sure that all of our educators are meeting the state mandated trainings as well. I will take a breath and a sip of water, then we'll talk about technology. Excuse me. And we're back. So with technology, again, the goal is to continue within this budget cycle on the work that Teresa Riemann and the technology department have really been pioneering in this district over the last 3 years as well. And there really is a major focus on the infrastructure and security. We've done a lot to build the security of our network. That includes some of the multi-factor authentication, some of the filtering, and wireless security that we've been working on over the last couple of years. If we can go to the next slide. Again, we have really gotten ourselves on a pace where we are able to systematically replace so that we're not hitting bubbles and valleys throughout the budget processes. New Chromebooks are distributed to students when they arrive as kindergartners, move on to the 5th grade and the 9th grade. We purchase additional Macs for the TV studio and certain art classes, as well as Monmouth Court. The high school is going to get its phone upgrade this year. The elementary schools had done it last year. We are upgrading with new video surveillance across the district. We're in year 3 of the 3-year plan for the network infrastructure, and that means replacing out all of the switches in Central Office, Riker Hill, Hillside, and the Mount Pleasant complex. That's replacing all the closets that run the network. We have software subscriptions that allow us to, do some really exciting things in the classroom, as well as making sure that we are dotting our I's and crossing all of our T's with the administrative work that we need to do in buildings as well. A new lighting board at the MPM auditorium. We have started last year replacing smart boards that are at end of life and no longer functioning across our elementary schools. That's going to continue. And we move into phase 3 of the 5-year plan for the TV studio upgrades. Thank you very much. And we turn it over to security.
Me.
Dan, thank you.
So one of the board goals was to look to improve school security. So over the since September, a group of us has been working to look at the security we have, see what improvements we can make, and pilot some of them before we go live in September. So looking to have visitor management systems at all our schools. Right now, really, the high school does, and this will be a great addition. Improve connectivity between our security systems. So we currently have single wire, and some of what we have does not speak to it. So we're looking to replace the emergency buttons with a system that will work with locking our doors when we have an emergency. Also work with our clocks and the speaker systems within the buildings. Additionally, have an app through single wire that we can communicate with staff during emergencies, and they can communicate with administration. Supplies and equipment in classrooms and offices for extended lockdowns. These are buckets, and districts that have had extended lockdowns realize that you need some equipment in the classrooms to make sure everyone's safe, because they can last for a long time. We're fortunate that we really just have lockdowns for drills, things like that. We're going to put outside strobes outside the building exits so that when they're going off, people recognize that there is a lockdown in place and they don't attempt to get in the building. And there'll be signage of that effect and communication to the community about that. And I've mentioned the other two things there. As far as facilities are concerned, we're going to continue to look to improve our facilities through maintenance and capital projects, floor replacements. We've done a lot of paving in the district, but we did parking lots. Now we're going to do the walkways, some exterior stair improvements at the high school, roof repairs, a lot of painting inside and outside, mechanical systems, replace some end-of-life units to improve energy efficiency and climate control. One is going to be on this building. If you've ever heard it turn on, it's like helicopters taking off from the top. But also at Heritage, we'll be doing that, and some work at the high school. Install some safety railings that are in disrepair, and some fencing. Some buildings will get some upgrades as far as cafeteria tables. Those are things that are used every day, and they're folded up and moved away because we use the rooms for other things during the day. So there's a lot of wear and tear on those. We'll continue to look at our facilities and plan for what we talked about as far as referendum and a bus depot, so we can have all our buses in one place and be protected. And now, Jess.
Now we get to the exciting part.
Mhm.
So state aid for the fiscal year 2025-26. On February 27th, the DOE announced that state aid for Livingston will decrease by $294,816, or exactly the 3% that they had indicated no district would be reduced more than. Across New Jersey, 2/3 of the districts received a decrease or remained flat. No, I think it was the other way around.
Yeah.
1/3 of the districts received a decrease or remained flat, and 2/3 of the district received an increase. So as you can see here, I put in a little table to show our three main types of state aid. The categorical transportation aid, we did see an increase over last year of just over 3%, which was roughly $43,533. That's exact, not rough. Categorical special education aid is actually where we lost. In our state aid this year, we lost a total of $626,297 for this year in that particular category. And then the security aid, we also saw an increase in that of $287,948, which makes up the total loss of the $294,816. The total aid that we got, excluding extraordinary aid and debt service aid, was $9,532 and $9,500. 9 million, let's try this again. Wow, $9,532,369. We did, extraordinary aid is budgeted to increase by approximately $1 million. And our debt service aid is decreased by about $25,000 that we got from the state this year. So moving on to the next slide, a little revenue history for our general fund. In the past, the local tax levy has supported about 90% of the general fund revenues. However, it did dip below 90% in 23-24, and we are back again below 90% for the 25-26 budget. The continuing trend of revenues and expenditures increasing at a higher rate than the tax levy, doesn't seem to be going away. Our fund balance is being relied upon to bridge the gap. Our fund balance has decreased from its high of $4.9 million in 23-24, and we're only at $1.8 million for 25-26. But ultimately, we'd really like to get it reduced to around $1 million a year would be the goal to use. And even with the usage of remaining banked cap and the healthcare waiver, the local tax levy will provide 89.7% of the 25-26 funding. Next slide. This is just a 5-year look back on our revenue history. As I mentioned in the previous slide, the budget continues to grow at a higher rate than our local operating budget school tax levy does. The difference between the current expense for the district and the tax levy that we were able to raise in 2021 was approximately $8.07 million. The difference is expected to be about $14.6 million in 25-26. This indicates an increase in the gap of approximately $6.57 million in just 5 years. As you can see, with the chart, the green line and the points are the actual tax levy that we have raised over the past 5 years. And while it has increased, you can see the current expense, which is the orange line, is increasing at a greater level than what we are able to increase our tax levy. As you can see, I have an estimated compounded annual growth rate in here. Our current expense over the past 5 years is 3.82%, and the tax levy is only at 3.04%. On the next slide, I have our appropriations by category. So this is all of the district appropriations and the percentage of our entire appropriation budget that they represent. I'm not going to, unless somebody wants me to, I'm not going to read each. The next slide is salaries, benefits, and other allocations. This is just a nice little pie chart to show that our salaries make up 58.5% of our budget and benefits make up 18.4%. And then all of the other allocations make up a total of 23.1% of our operating costs. Now for the good news, the continuing district excellence. I'm not going to read all of these off, but they're, our district is an excellent district because we offer these programs that aren't mandated by the New Jersey Department of Education. And we will continue to offer these programs as we had indicated earlier in the presentation with the budget that we'll be presenting. The healthcare adjustment and waiver, banked cap, and tax impact. So the first line here indicates a decrease of $268,220. This is due to the fact that this year we saved on health insurance. So Chapter 44, by their calculations, we saved. They then reduce your tax levy amount by $268,225. Now, we are able to, there are reasons that they will actually allow you to not have to take this deduction. You just have to provide evidence that it did not have to do with Chapter 44, that it was because either you switched insurance plans or there was some other factor to it than that, which I will be doing. And you submit that with the actual budget, when we do the preliminary budget that gets submitted. So I will be submitting that. Despite the fact that we had a savings, our healthcare obviously is slated to go up a very great percentage. So we were able to get they allow you to calculate a healthcare waiver adjustment, which we will take advantage of. And that is $1,353,073. And then we have the remaining banked cap that had been generated of $842,473. The adjusted tax levy cap, which takes into account all of those factors above, as well as our regular 2% tax levy, is about 3.55%. The balanced tentative 25-26 budget that will be presented on March 18th will include the $1,353,000 healthcare waiver adjustment, $842,000 of the banked cap. The operating tax levy will be 3.55%, and there is a decrease in the debt service tax levy of 0.78%, which is attributable to the reduced interest that is owed on that. This slide is really just kind of for visual purposes for anybody who likes to have things, visually instead of written out. It basically has all the same information as the previous slide, but in numbers and a little concise format there. As you see at the bottom, I do include in there the tax increase to the average home is $305 for the year. On the following slide is the preliminary tax impact. So this is the estimated tax increase based on the most recent ratables received from the township. The average home price is $729,727, which that would be the $305 that they would expect to see with a 3.55% increase in the tax levy for the year. And then I've given some examples of other home prices in there and what they would see. You'll see at the bottom here, it's noted also that the total township ratables increased by $47,842,000 over 2024, which does help obviously with the tax levy for the school. So the last slide is our cost per pupil. So we are, in my opinion, running very efficiently here. Our classroom instruction per pupil has decreased by $132 to $12,327 from last year. The legal cost for pupil is only $46. The regional limit is $69, so we're well below what the regional limit is. Same thing with our total admin costs of only $1,916 for pupil with a regional limit of $2,875. The general administration cost per pupil is $202 here in Livingston, and the regional limit is $523. The school admin cost per pupil is only at $763, and that's well below the regional limit again, that is $1,159. The business office cost per pupil is only $256, a little more than half of what the regional limit is of $429. Our food service operations, they run self-sufficient, so there's no cost per pupil for the district for those. And then employee benefits as a percentage of salaries, they did increase despite the change in the health benefits from prior year. And that is all.
Questions?
Thank you. So before I open it up to questions, let me just say, we all know and recognize how difficult putting any school year's budget together is. Conversation and collaboration that has to take place. Dan, you and your team, we recognize, and we also recognize it's even more difficult when budgets are tight and state aid drops. And so on behalf of the board, I just want to express my gratitude, our gratitude for that work and that effort and the creativity that went into ensuring a balanced budget, ensuring new revenue streams to help do that. And so we appreciate all of that effort. And so with that, let me turn it over to whomever would like to go first.
So we right now have a tax levy of 3.55. We're using our bank cap, we're using all of this. And you said that this continues to grow. What are our options? The gap continues to grow. What are going to be our options as we come up on the next budget year and the following budget year?
I'll start. That's going to be a huge challenge. I mean, it will be tighter next year. And, we'll spend the year looking at our options, moving forward. But unless there are, additional revenue streams, we are going to have to make cuts.
You also talked about ratables from the township.
We just ask a follow-up
Okay.
to that comment. So, given the increase in population, how do you anticipate that will look if there are cuts that have to be made, even though we have an increase in the number of our students?
So,
And we're also trying to keep our class sizes to guidelines.
so, the increase in student enrollment lags behind the formula. So, we know it's an October 15th date where that's a snapshot in time. And, you'll see in this week's, board notes, we've gained close to 70 students, since that time. So, you know, that is just a function of the formula. They have to take a snapshot. It can't be a moving target. And I understand it. I don't necessarily agree, but I do understand it. So, you know, with enrollment, even though it lags, you do get a bump in your state aid if the formula is used. So,
You said the township ratables increased.
Yep.
That doesn't include anything where pilots have been given, right?
no,
No. Okay, so these are,
oh, yeah, it does.
Oh, well,
It's,
yeah.
it's the valuation of the homes.
Yeah.
Okay, so there's no taxes being collected on those pilots.
right.
But the valuation of those facilities are part of the ratables of the town.
But we won't be getting tax levies from that.
Right.
Mm-hmm. Is there any way to know and to separate this out, tease it apart, like from the actual ratables that will impact our tax levy?
I don't think we could do it. I think
We need
the
the
town
township to do that.
could do that, but
Yeah, because even
Have they approved any pilots yet?
what they give us doesn't have it. It's not broken out.
Yeah.
by-
Mhm. Yeah, it's not broken out
No.
in the budget documents.
Just a question about the opening up of the pre-K program and the 2 additional sections. Given the space challenges, will the program remain in the same location?
At Burnett Hill,
And there is room for
yeah,
that?
we went over there yesterday to
Okay.
make sure it would work.
So just to build on that, because my question was gonna be, are there any facility related costs to doing that?
There are some, you know, taking down a wall, putting up a wall. Yes,
But you're doing that internally?
Internally.
Yes,
Yeah.
exactly.
Internally, okay.
Yep.
Question about the counseling and then the tier 2 supports. In the secondary schools, we have 200, our ratio is 1 counselor to 210 students. You anticipate that there will remain the 1 college counselor? Okay. And are you increasing the tier 2 supports for student assistance counselor? Or is that remaining the
well,
same?
but we had a SAC that was an outsourced person.
Hmm.
Okay, and that was done because they didn't know at the time really how much time we needed that person. But we know now that we need that person full-time. So while we're adding a position, we're taking it from the contract that we would pay the company for that outsourced person.
Okay.
So that's a wash.
And,
And we have the same thing with the behaviorist
okay.
budget too.
And will those be shared still between Heritage and Livingston High School? The student assistance counselors?
Each building will continue to have the amount of student assistance
Okay,
counselors.
okay.
Yeah.
That's good. Thank you. And as far as the equity programming, will anything change about the way those groups are operating? Will they continue to be stipended positions for the staff assigned to them?
Yep.
Okay.
Mhm.
We've had a lot of conversation with the town council and are making a lot of progress on moving Monmouth Court to our ownership. And hopefully that will complete before the summer, before the end of the school year. Is Monmouth Court and the running and operation of that building incorporated into our utility expectations and things like that from a cost perspective?
Yes, because we pretty
Cover it.
Cover it
Yeah.
now. So it's okay.
And any facility related work likely wouldn't happen during the
Unless-
25 school year.
Unless we gain ownership before summer.
Okay.
Which is possible
Mhm.
and hopeful.
I'll go from the next question.
I do, but you can go ahead.
No, go ahead.
My other well, I mean, I have many questions, but on categorical special education aid, is that simply an enrollment?
absolutely is. It's the same, they use the same growth rate. This is the first, so this year is the first year that they have applied this same growth rate that they use for our enrollment to the special education formula. They've always used, they never actually used a formula and applied that to the special education aid when calculating the categorical special education aid. The enrollment number would be, they basically took an average of special education throughout the districts and applied that number. This is the first year that they actually took the same growth percentage rate that they applied for our enrollment numbers to the special education numbers, hence our numbers
So will we
decreased.
have a below the state average special ed percentage of students? There are districts that have a higher percentage, and because it was an average in the past and ours is low average, number of students that
So-
impacted us.
So it was census based almost, but now we're going with the actual number that we have.
It's census based per district now.
Right.
Yeah.
Earlier it was this average census based.
This is my soapbox, which is when 2/3 of districts get an increase, there is fundamentally no reason we should be getting. I understand we might get a cut in overall state aid, but to get a cut here just quite frankly really makes me mad. So that's no action for you, but for anyone listening in Trenton, not happy with
And there's no, I don't know the answer to this question, but there's no activity around taking that snapshot in mid-October and again, before they finalize the state aid numbers.
You know, I think they use that number in our audits. I
They use
mean,
it in
there's a whole
everything.
number of
That
reasons.
October
they
15th
use it.
number drives pretty much is the number that they use for almost everything related to
Mhm.
the number of students a district has and calculated.
So if there was a later date on during which the number was calculated, it would be more accurate of a measure.
Right, it's accurate on October 15th.
Right, but not
Not accurate today.
exactly,
Yeah, it's a moving target.
right.
anyone. Fong, any questions?
My question is, I understand the percentage wise, our budget is the majority is going to the salaries and the benefits. Those are pretty solid is the reason why we're excellent here. So my question is, how do we do
Thank you.
generate more revenues? I applaud for the initiative to increasing the pre-K and all the other, but is there anything else that we can do here? Especially with the state aid is cutting down and the tax levy and everything. So that's more not particular budget related, but it's kind of, yes.
I wish I had a
I know.
good answer for you. I can tell you we'll be working on this and looking at different options that we have or that we can consider over the next year, knowing that you know, we will have an issue in the 26-27 budget. Mhm.
Can you educate me? Because
Sure.
of course, I was not born here. I was not raised up here. For public school district versus private school, what are the different things in regarding the fundraising or revenue generated programs? Any fundamental differences, how we do things?
Fees.
Well, they have endowments.
I mean, the revenue.
Okay. I'm
Endowment.
gonna go through, they have endowments.
And
They can have, people, donate large sums of money. Public schools generally don't have that. And to do a budget, if someone, let's say someone donated a significant amount of money to the district, most likely it's gonna be for something, but let's say they just said, here's a check. You'd be hard pressed to use it in a budget on a reoccurring cost because it won't be there next year. Okay, so that's a challenge that we have. The private schools can charge a tuition rate to that they feel that their customers
Mhm.
can pay, and it can increase from year to year. And they can use their endowments to cover expenses, facility expenses, and things like that. While we do have a capital reserve, account, that is only generated by what's not spent in one year. It falls into, a capital reserve account, a maintenance account, things of that sort. So they are two different funding mechanisms for a private school versus a public school. So MKA, their tuition is in excess of 60,000, well, in excess. We spend less than a third of that on our students, and it's all generated through the revenues we presented tonight.
So when you say, let's say somebody donate a big chunk of money, either a local bank or hospital or something, you're worrying maybe they won't donate the next year or the coming couple of years.
Right. So
Okay.
in future downturns in the economy, to jumpstart the economy, so 2009, 2010, we were given lump sums of money, and we were told, don't spend it on reoccurring costs. Districts bought buses, districts bought student management systems, things like that, that they knew that if they hired a teacher, that money wasn't going to be there the next year. So you'd have the teacher in there for 1 year. And the same thing happened with the pandemic money. We're able to absorb some of the things that we do during the summer. Now, high impact tutoring, things like that. But, we've observed that, can it go on forever? We hope so. Mhm.
Something need to work on.
Yep.
So Dan, you had said something about behaviorists when you were talking about SAC. There was how many behaviorists do we have? Do you know? Sorry.
Hold on. We have three.
Three?
Three things right now. Just say I'm pulling up the,
Yeah, Jeff's gonna pull that up.
Elementaries.
I don't know the exact number.
That's okay.
Mhm.
You can get back to me.
While you're pulling that up,
That could be.
correct me if I'm wrong, but our bank cap expires this year, this upcoming.
Next
if we
year.
don't use it.
absolutely.
And so I think that's important to highlight for the board that if we were not to use our bank cap, it would go away.
Yes.
And you had mentioned, Dan, very quickly in passing in with the activity fee, sports coming back to Heritage. Can you just, expand on that?
So currently, we partner with the Y, and our students pay a fee. I want to say $300 per sport. And the Y provides the coaches for that. We provide the transportation, all the sort of administrative back end and things of that sort to cover it. This is something the middle school has wanted to take back really under their umbrella. And student activity fees afford that opportunity.
And would the student activity fees cover any additional stipends that were necessary?
They're going to cover definitely the coaching salaries.
Okay.
And this would include just Heritage and Livingston High School or also Mount
Just,
Pleasant
the high school
Just-
and Heritage.
and Heritage?
And then regarding security improvements, which certainly I always applaud. There are often grants out there. Are we, I mean, it's a pretty loaded question, but are we doing everything we can to generate as many donated funds or granted funds?
I am all on board with that. Anything that we can get grants for. And yes, I do. I look frequently. There's a state, the state does have a website out there of grants that are available. So I do frequently look at that to see if there's anything available to us that we can utilize.
Just to respond to your behaviors question, we have 2 full-time behaviorists and 1 contracted service person that will be converting to a FTE next year.
Thank you.
Are there any other questions or comments from the board? Again, what?
Sorry. Oh, starting. I didn't do anything.
Oh, I was like, anyway, again, thank you. We appreciate all of the hard work that goes into this. Oh, it is countless hours and it is not easy. So, and it is certainly appreciated. And so with that, I will move us forward to board reports. I do one. Anyone else have any board reports this evening?
No.
So I am going to read something. So at our last Board of Ed meeting, the Board of Education passed a resolution, and that resolution focused on exactly this topic, and the topic specifically around our ability to generate revenue, and which has since been sent to our elected leaders. And so allow me the moment to just read it for the public. So this was item 3.2, the last agenda, a resolution requesting the state to make adjustments to school funding to address budget constraints for the current fiscal year and beyond. Whereas Livingston Public Schools has worked diligently to provide high-quality education to all students despite ongoing fiscal challenges, and whereas Livingston Public Schools is facing significant budget constraints for the current fiscal year, with projections indicating continued budgetary pressures in the years ahead, and whereas the current allocation of state funding does not fully address the increasing costs of educational services, including but not limited to instructional staff, resources, facilities, maintenance, technology, and transportation. And whereas the financial difficulties faced by Livingston Public Schools have resulted in difficult decisions regarding educational programming, class sizes, and professional staffing, which may have an adverse impact on the overall quality of education and student achievement. And whereas the school district's ability to fulfill its mission to ensure a high-quality education for all students is directly affected by these budget limitations, and the current fiscal landscape presents substantial challenges in meeting the range of student needs. And whereas Livingston has explored all available internal options to reduce expenses without compromising student services, and yet the fiscal challenges remain significant. And whereas Livingston Public Schools recognizes the need to advocate for equitable funding solutions and long-term financial stability for its educational system, it also believes the state must understand and address the realities of rising costs and decreased resources facing local school districts. Now, therefore, be it resolved by the Livingston Board of Education, of Livingston Public Schools, that the board formally appeals to the state of New Jersey, urging the following. 1, the state recognizes and adjusts the current funding formulas to reflect increasing budgetary pressures and constraints facing Livingston Public Schools and districts across the state. 2, The state works with local districts to develop a more equitable and sustainable long-term funding model that can address both short-term budget needs and long-term educational goals. 3, the state considers providing additional funding support for districts experiencing significant financial challenges due to rising operational costs, inflationary pressures, and education-related expenses, and professional staff shortages. 4, the state offers flexibility and additional support to districts that are actively working to optimize resources and adjust to the financial constraints without sacrificing the quality of educational services. And 5, the state permits all districts to increase its local tax levy from 2% to 4%. Be it further resolved that the Livingston Public Schools will continue to work closely with state officials, state legislators, and educational organizations to advocate for funding solutions that ensure all students have access to the education they need so we can advance the achievement of all students regardless of ongoing fiscal challenges, passed and adopted this February 25th, 2025 by the Board of Education of Livingston Public Schools. So from my chair, this is an incredibly important resolution that we passed. And one, it shows the leadership of Livingston's Board of Education in the state and Livingston Public Schools. We needed to take this moment to act as a leader district, and it is certainly my hope that other districts and their boards of education will follow suit and continue to advocate for our children and advocate that we have the resources to educate our children at the expected level. And so I appreciate everyone on this board's willingness to put this forward. And this is an important goal. And I certainly hope that our elected leadership in Trenton will listen and heed the warnings of our challenges and act to help bring them to resolution. Are there any other board reports?
I think we just finished the whole Read Across America. I finished another 2 schools after the previous one, Collins, Becker Hill, and Bernard Hill. Enjoyed the experiences, and Bernard Hill 4th grader has a wax museum where the kids dress up, picking their characters, do the whole wax museum thing, and you click the button and they're gonna tell you all about the character. So it was really fun. So enjoy the experience.
Thank you. It's definitely a better way to close than mine.
Something lighten up.
I loved it, yeah. I've read in 3 schools.
Yeah.
It's great.
Yeah, I was able to be the best favorite reader because of Stern and the book he gave me, I Am a Donkey. Now it's my favorite.
Oh my
That was the highlight. Like, they loved me because of that.
And we appreciate all of the teachers and staff and administrators who were involved in their Read Across America programs.
Agreed. Seeing no other board reports, our student representative could not be here this evening, so I will move us forward to public comment. The guidelines are on the lectern. The timer is on the screens. If there are any public comment in the room, we welcome it at this time.
Hello, everybody. Nice to meet you all. I'll do my best to follow the guidelines, even though I'm just speaking right now. My name is Sierra. I'm the team lead of a fundraising leadership company called Apex Leadership Co. We've been around for 6 years in the New Jersey chapter. We serve a lot of schools in the Livingston area. Right now, I'm in Godwin School. I just left Hohokus Elementary School. In this area, I was at Roosevelt, Woodmont, and what we do is we go into the schools and we give them leadership and fundraising. It's those things paired together. It's 100% risk-free for the schools. You don't pay anything to have us come into the schools. What we do is we go into the classrooms and we break down lessons on things that are important to be a leader, whether it's doing what's right, starting today, practicing kindness, showing respect, being grateful. Those are the things that we really hold on to. This is our elementary school program, by the way. So we go into the classes, we give them our spiel on what's important. We give them the prizes that they've been earning from the fundraising. And on their final day, they have a fun run. I don't know if you've ever heard of that before, but parents pledge for every lap that they do. So since it's a risk-free program, you don't spend any money to have us into your schools, but all the money that you earn, you get 50% of it. So at Woodmont School, they raised 20K and got to take home, 21 and got to take home 11K. Hilldale Elementary School got 32 and got to take home 16K. I was at Maple Road. I believe there's some in this area. Mount Pleasant Middle School I was just at, they earned 11,000 take home. And another middle school I was just at, Little Falls Township, earned 24K. So it really is a program that brings in solid cash for whatever you need. I heard a lot of things about budget and cuts in the future. So all of our programs are just to help you support wherever you can. We have a middle school program as well, which we just go for lunch and recess. We know middle schoolers don't really care to hear us talk about what they need to do to be leaders. So we give them the snacks that they love, prizes during lunch and recess, and they have a color run as their final event. And it's the same thing where it's pay to play. The kids kind of understand that, but the minimum baseline to pay to participate is only $30. So a lot of times it's really accessible for the students. In our elementary school program, every single student gets a prize, a t-shirt, and the chance to participate. So there's no student left behind at all. We just want to make sure that the kids understand that they all have the ability to be leaders, but also y'all need money. So we want to help you support as much as you can. So I'm going to leave you a few of my goodies, just a few prizes in here, some information as well. Feel free to take it all. I also brought some cookies. If you like them, feel free. But like I mentioned, we're really doing our best to spread across as many middle schools as we can. We're in a lot of elementary schools, but middle schools is really hard to fund for. So we're here for you. We're doing our best. Please reach out. I have some business cards in there. I want to help. I'm from Essex, so this is my area. I'm too much in Bergen, so I'm trying to bring us down here. So I appreciate y'all and thank you. Do you have any questions for me? I don't know how this works. So let's be real.
You see it in your time, you're good.
Okay. Yes.
So,
Thank
Thank
you.
you.
very,
So much. Bye, y'all. Have a good one.
Thank you.
Are there any other comments in the room? Seeing none, I will move to online. Are there any hands raised online? There is one. Hi, can you hear me? Us?
Hi, yeah, I can. Can you hear me?
Yes, we can.
Okay, hi, this is Maria LaJoy. I have two kids in the district. I've been a Livingston resident for about 20 years now, and I just had a question about the activities fee and how that's going to be allocated because I have children that participate in the theater program, and we already pay dues that are anywhere between $100 to $200 per year per student. And I've definitely written checks, I know, for other clubs. And so when we're talking about $200 being nominal, suddenly when you're adding that $200 to the money we're already paying for activities, you're talking over $1,000 if you have two kids in programs. And then on top of the 5.5% tax increase we had last year, plus I guess another 3.5 nearly you're talking about now. And suddenly it's not so nominal anymore. So I'm just wondering how that activities fee is going to be allocated. Will there be some elimination of some of the fees we're already paying for clubs? Thank you.
Thank you. Are there any other hands online?
I don't know what level that is.
High school. High school.
Was there,
theater.
was there,
There's high school theater.
hi, is there someone on?
Yeah, it's me. Can you guys hear me?
Oh, yes, hi.
Hi, this is Danielle Santola. I'll be proper and say 11 North Cedar Parkway, Livingston, New Jersey. I'm sorry I couldn't be there in person. I know this is a little weird of me. I haven't been able to be there in person the last couple times. I've been here via Zoom. Not usually something that I do is stand up and speak, but I do have a question. I thought maybe I'd give it a shot after Maria was just talking about the theater program. There's a couple things that I'm working on, like Seth was saying, positive news. So I'm just curious if you guys have any comments. One of the things first and foremost, I'm trying to push ticket sales. We've got the musical coming up this weekend, starting tomorrow, with actually for the first time they're letting people come to their dress rehearsal, their final dress rehearsal. I think that's a big deal. So I'm wondering if you have any comments on that. A couple other positive things I'm working on are the fencing team and the chess team. So if you guys have any comments, I think that anyone who's listening will love to hear about that, and also for my upcoming stories as well.
Thank you.
Yep.
The girls fencing team won the state championship. They did, which is
Yes.
great. And I don't think anyone came close to our chess team. Nope. At the high school, there's in the spotlight, I think there was more trophies than participants.
I think this is the disadvantage of our student representative not being here this evening.
Yeah.
Because I have no doubt.
No doubt.
She would have fed you plenty.
Including the drowsy chaperone.
Oh.
Yes. Hi, Mr. Lipsick, can you hear me?
Yeah, hi, how are you?
Good.
So I appreciate the budget, by the way. I know it's always difficult to do, and being in real estate, I get it. It's a constant battle. My question though, or comment was, I know last year you guys mentioned doing a security audit. I saw the security cameras in the budget, but I didn't see anything about an audit or someone going through the security and really kind of making a determination if you need police in the school, if you need AI systems that tap into the security camera system that can recognize guns, that can recognize all different things in school. I didn't know if that was something you guys are looking into as well, but I just kind of wanted an update on that.
Thank you. Are there any other hands? Seeing none, I'm going to close public comment and just state that it is our practice when questions come here to the board to make sure that we provide accurate, and in particular, Dr. Fishbein provides accurate and fully informed answers. And so while we may not answer them here right on the spot, in particular, the question regarding the activities fee, it will be researched and it will be responded to.
Yep.
Okay.
Yep.
Okay, moving forward with items for recommendations for approval. Can I have a motion on 3.1 through 3.4, please?
If I could just comment on 3.1.
Motion's done?
Yep, go ahead.
So moved.
Sorry.
Oh, man.
So moved.
So we have a MOA with Board of Education, Livingston Police Department, and the Prosecutor's Office. Each year, we go through it, and all three parties sign off, and it's a way to structure how schools basically communicate with the police department, and the police department communicates with us and the prosecutor's office. So this is an addendum of the MOA, which allows for security reasons, for very specific situations, we can share specific information with the police department. And what this does, this is all FERPA compliant, which is the federal law on student records, that we can provide information to the police department when we have an incident in school. And the titles there are people that have access to the cameras. The police actually have access to the cameras in the police station, and this broadens their ability to get information what occurs in the police department is if we have an incident going on in school, they can access it. But the people, probably from the school specialists, down, really know how to access the cameras, identify which camera would show in a certain area and be able to share that information, with the police department.
Thank you. Are there any questions or comments from the board? Seeing none?
Mrs. Charles?
Yes.
Mrs. Gong?
Yes.
Mrs. Kemka?
Yes.
Mrs. Yelisevich?
Yes.
And Mr. Cohen?
Yes.
Motion carries.
Moving on to item 4, personnel. Can I have a motion on 4.1 through 4.5, please?
So moved.
Congratulate Marlene Zuloff on her many years with us. She spent 17 years as a bus driver and 10 years as a playground aide. She is retiring from us this June. So she's a great asset to the transportation department. I know she's still in that.
And on behalf of the board, we thank you for your incredible service to our school district. We wish you nothing but health and happiness in your retirement, and we look forward to celebrating you at the retirement ceremony later this year. Are there any questions or comments from the board?
Welcome to Mr. Levitt.
Seeing none?
Mrs. Charles?
Yes.
Mrs. Gong?
Yes.
Mrs. Kemka?
Yes.
Mrs. Yelisevich?
Yes.
And Mr. Cohen?
Yes, and welcome.
Carries.
Moving, we do not have an HIB report this evening.
There is something.
It's,
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
So,
Am I?
I think it was presented the last time and it's voted on this time.
It's the second reading.
It's a second
Second
reading.
reading?
Okay.
Yeah.
on every meeting.
Moving on to item 5, can I have a motion on 5.1, the HIB report?
So moved.
Second.
Any questions, comments? Seeing none?
Mrs. Charles?
Yes.
Mrs. Gong?
Yes.
Mrs. Kemka?
Yes.
Yelisevich?
Yes.
And Mr. Cohen?
Yes. Are there any items of old business? Are there any items of new business? Can I have a motion to adjourn?
So moved.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Thank you and good night.
Oh, it's good.